do some experiments on AWS cloud computing. Okay, so the point is that before heading for an experiment, we should have an account first. Okay, so like I have given a link so that you can create your own account, or any one of you have created your AWS account. Any one of you have tried to create an AWS account? Okay, so it seems like few of you have tried to create a AWS account, and that account is a free account. Okay, it doesn't charge anything, uh, and it initially will take 1 or 2 rupees, and then it will be returned back to your account. It's nothing like it is charged. But remember one thing, like whenever you launch a service, don't forget to stop that service. If you don't stop that service, if the free credit will expire, that will be charged on your account. So please remember, I am again repeating it, when this course will over and we do some of the experiments, okay, after the completion of the experiments, please remember to off those services, because each free account is associated with few free credits. Okay, once those free credits will expire, okay, yeah, we are can I use AWS? Yeah, we all are going to use the AWS free account, and once those free credits will expire, they will charge you. So that's why I am repeating it. Please remember that thing. So those who have not created the AWS account, for them, I am just going to start sharing my screen. So all of you are able to see this. I hope so. So just type
Yes, sir.
okay, Amazon AWS on the screen.
Yes, sir. Same.
Uh, the very first account, you have to go on that. And then you have to go get started for free. Okay, or this link also, though both the link will work out. So in the free tier, it provide you ample opportunity to get an hands-on experience of AWS platform products and services. Okay, so they had given you that it's always free. So not all the services, few of the services like identity access management, that is IAM service, that is free, that come with that account, and other services are billable. So it is like 750 hours free of cost. After that, they will charge you. Okay, so still you have ample opportunity to use those services. So free service cover 750 hours of CPU service that is associated with Amazon EC2. Then they will also provide you 5 GB of storage on simple storage system, that is S3. Then they will provide you 750 hours of Amazon RDS, that is relational database server. So Amazon provide you database server that includes MySQL, Postgres, MariaDB, Oracle, and there is one another database service that is provided by Amazon. Okay, so that is not included in the free service. Okay, so whenever you want to use that particular service that is offered by Amazon, you have to pay a few bucks. Then Amazon DynamoDB, Amazon SageMaker. So since this is an era of machine learning, and many of you are very much interested on doing experiment of machine learning. So at that time, you may go to the Amazon SageMaker. It's provide you free of cost 250 hours of service and enable you to open T2 medium CPU. Okay, and that is associated with the Jupyter Notebook. So if you are using that, that is free of cost, and the that is also associated with that account, with the account. So you can use them to uh, your system, to train your system, test your system, and at the same time, it also allow you to deploy your system. So what happens, like whenever you are working on machine learning, you perform training and testing of your system and then calculate some kind of accuracy. It is like never be you deploy your system and check in the real world scenario. But when you use a cloud computing, it also providing you the hosting service where you can host your model. Okay. I am not going, we are not going to see each one of them, but uh, the purpose of these experiments, this hands-on training is to give you an initiation, that how you could use the different services of cloud computing so that it will enable you to later on go for exploring, go to explore each and every service of uh, in the uh, cloud computing market, AWS market. So let's go them one by one. I will cover the IAM service, that is Identity Access Management. Then we will see how to launch a virtual machine, that is Amazon EC2. Then we will try to access the simple storage system, that is, and then try to communicate between S3 and AWS. So these few things see. So up to 5 GB it is free. After 5 GB you have to pay for that. It is not like free forever. No such business model is there that uh, provide you free of cost things. Guys, is my voice is broken or something like that, or it is audible?
Sometimes it's good, but many a times it's a broken voice.
Okay, maybe the
Not sure if others are facing the same or not, but yeah, because I'm facing the same.
okay, now it is okay.
Yeah, it's
Now it
better
is
now.
okay.
Yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Okay, so the first thing is that if you have any Gmail account or something like that, just go with the email address and password, then confirm password, and then an AWS account name. So I'm just giving it randomly. You use your own, okay? Then you have to give a password. Maybe I have the account already. That's why it is creating error. So for you people, uh, if you don't have account, just go with that. it allow you to continue. Let's say I am going to try with some other account. Maybe that will be work out. Okay, so it's allowing me to do the registration. So after that, it is just simple. You have to give name your institute or your company name. Okay. And after this point of time, I'm not going to reveal my credit card or debit card details. So you have to just put your credit card and debit card details and other things, and then it will be verify and added. And after that, uh, there is some verification with your mobile phone or your email ID, that just the verification will happen. You are able to use your AWS account. Okay, so nothing in that. It is as usual registration process as we do with other portals. So I hope all of you are able to do that. So I'm going to log in, and I believe that most of you are able to complete the registration process. If you are finding any point, any kind of difficulty, just ask me one to one. So once you will log into the console, so in this way you are log into the console. The first thing is that you can able to see that the Amazon AWS is distributed around the globe. Are you able to see that? It is distributed around the globe, starting with East, Ohio, Virginia, California, Oregon, Cape Town, Hong Kong. Even in the Asia Pacific region and in India, they have their data centers. Okay. So whenever you log in, they will allow you to log in to one of their zones. So that will be automatically assigned until unless you dedicatedly ask them to allow to log into some specific location. Okay, so in this way we have logged into Ohio, and you can even change them if you want to do that. You can even change them. Okay, so that is about the zones of AWS. Then AWS offers all kind of computing services. Okay, and some of the computing services we have already used in our daily usage, and some of for very specific purpose, and that want special purpose training, then only you are able to use those services. But majority of them, if you have interest, if you want to do that, you can do by your own. just by seeing the documentation. Okay, so let's say you want to explore some service, any kind of service in AWS. So what you have to do, you have to go into the documentation. So let's say I want to explore the Elastic Cloud Compute. So go into the documentation. It have all the preambles, means step by step how you can initiate or launch an EC2 volume, then how you are able to connect with an EC2 volume. So I'm saying just showing you how to read it out, and you can read it by yourself. So they have proper documentation for each and everything. So Amazon EC2 provides a scalable computing capacity in the AWS web services. Using the Amazon EC2 eliminates you to need to invest in the hardware front, so you can develop and deploy applications faster. Okay, so these images are pre-configured, and now you are allowed to initiate any kind of Linux or Windows machine using that. So they have also have tutorials. If you want to go to the tutorials, they will give you the step-by-step guideline. Okay,
I think
for the
Shivani need to
tutorial.
go on mute.
Guys, just mute the mic.
Shivani, please go on mute, please.
Okay, so that is the part of documentation through which any service can be understand, can be used using the tutorial examples. You can able to understand that. Okay, so now in the services, you can see there is EC2, that is known as Elastic Cloud Compute. So whenever you want to use a computing services, so you have to launch this service. Okay, whenever you need a remote system, a new remote computer of large capacity, small capacity, medium capacity, or any kind of capacity, you just go to the EC2 volume and just launch it and start using it. Okay, then there is a system that is Lightsail. If you want to launch a web service immediately, it have tailor-made system. Okay, it have the tailor-made system already configured to just go and host your web services and immediately launch. It will not take more than 2-3 minutes. Okay, so now you can able to see that it's provide you Linux and Windows, and after that all kind of platforms are available where website could be host. So it will allow you to host your service starting from WebPress to LAMP server to Django. Everything is available here. You just go and start using it. Guys, just
It's Shivani to
switch
go on
off
mute,
your
sir.
mic.
Shivani, can you please mute the class? We are actually disturbing. ಹಲೋ ಶಿವಾನಿ.
ಅದನ್ನ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಒಂದು ಪೈಪ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಅವ್ರು ಹಾಕಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾ, ಕಾರಣದ್ದು ಈ ಪೈಪ್ ಆ ಲೈನ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪೈಪ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಹಾಕೋದು ಅವರೇ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಮನೆ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಏನೋ ಇತ್ತು ನಮ್ ಖರ್ಚು, ಮನೆ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಏನಿತ್ತು ಅವ್ರ ಖರ್ಚು ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದು ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ಒಂದು
Guys, can we terminate her, or can we do something?
Not able to remove
ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಸೇಫ್ಟಿ ಒಂದು ಇರೋದಲ್ಲ, ಮನೆ ಹತ್ರ ಇದೆ.
Okay. So similarly, there are multiple kind of service in the compute domain. And when we go to the storage services, that is simple storage system, and one thing that I had discussed in the lecture, that is Amazon Glacier, that is known as S3 Glacier. So there they have different kind of purpose. They fulfill different kind of purpose, and we will use them. So for this particular presentation, for this particular course, I'm going to use the S3 service, the EC2 service, and the IAM, as we have very limited amount of time. Okay. So just going to start with the first service, that is identity access management. So I hope many of you have logged into your AWS console. If any of you are finding it difficult, you may ask me. The first service that we are going to use is identity access management. So see that account set. So when you first time log into the system, some error has been encountered. So I'm just reloading the page. Okay. So when you first time log in to the system, these all the ticks, these you are able to see that the tick marks, they all, or you can say unset. The root access key has not been deleted, then the multi-factor activation has not been done, and there is no separate individual user, then the group has not been created, and also we have not created the IAM policy. So the point is that when you first time log in to the AWS console, you log in via root login. Okay, so it is recommended that don't use the root login. It is recommended, or it is practiced, that don't use the root login. Even you want to access, if even you want administrative privileges, so create a separate account with administrative privileges. Okay, so that is the industry standard. The reason being that, let's say a company using the AWS cloud computing for all its computing needs, and if that root privilege is shared with system admin and system admin has deleted everything, so there is no possibility to recover anything. So that is why the root privileges are either deleted. Okay, so either the root keys are deleted, or it is just kept secret from everyone, and a separate user has been created to perform the system administrative responsibilities. Okay, then we will see the MFA, the multi-factor authentication. So for managing a multi-factor authentication, what you have to do, yeah, the root have more privileges than admin. An admin is not possible to delete the root privileges, but a root is allowed to delete or add a new admin account. Okay, so now we are going in the MFA. In the MFA section,
Sir, one quick question,
what
sir.
you do,
Root admin. Sorry, sir.
what
One quick
Yeah, I
question.
will just a minute. I will respond to your question. Just complete it. Then I will respond to you. Okay, that will terminate the continuity. So, in the virtual MFA, what you have to do? So there are multiple kind of MFA, but for simplicity, we are going to use the virtual MFA. MFA means multi-factor authentication. So here the root has the authentication of username and password. Now you are adding another authentication. So if you are going to add another authentication, what you have to do, you have to install an application in your mobile phone. You have to install application in your mobile phone. So for Android devices, just go to the Google Play and just type Google Authenticator. You will get an application and just install in your phone. And those who have iPhone, they can even do the same. They go for the authenticator, or there are multiple other applications also available. If you want to install them on your phone, you can even do that. Okay, but it is easy to use the Google Authenticator since I have installing that in my phone. Okay, it is up to you. You are free to use any of them, but for if all we are all at the same page, it is easy to answer the queries. So once you click on that, QR code will arise. After that, guys, you have found out the Google Authenticator. So when you scan that, it will ask, it will automatically give you some queries, some code. And what you have to do, you have to fill those codes here for the authentication purpose. And once you fill those codes, now your device has been connected with this account. Okay, you have successfully assigned the virtual MFA, and this virtual MFA will require during signing. So what happens here, like when you have logged into this AWS account, at that time it required username and password. Now it will require an additional authentication that is from your phone. Okay, so now when you go to the dashboard, you can able to see that out of 5, 3 has been ticked. Okay, the next thing is that we have to update our password policy. So enforce minimum password length as a 6. So it is up to you. You can increase it up to 12 or whatever you want. Okay. Then require at least one uppercase letter and a small case letter and other thing, then alphanumeric character. Then when you want to expire that software, so you can even enable that. You want to expire the software in every 90 days. Okay. So password expiration required administrative reset. So all these kind of things are possible. You can set or reset them. And even you can allow the users to reset their password. So it is up to you what kind of policy you want to enforce. So I am not uh, uh, performing very much change. But if you are like managing some cloud account in some company or somewhere, at that time you have to enforce the strict, very strict password policy. Okay, for demonstration purpose, it doesn't require. If I change them, then it required me to change at many places. That's why I'm not performing that. Once you have done that, now you are able to see that all the security status has been taken. So you can say that from the side of the AWS, this is the minimum security requirement. This is the minimum security requirement from the AWS. They recommend you to delete your AWS root account access key, okay, because they provide unrestricted access to your AWS resources. Instead, use IAM user access key or temporary security credentials. Okay. So I had done that. The next thing is you have added an additional layer of security using the multi-factor authentication. Okay. Then we will see how to create a new user. Then we will see how to create a new user that I had not shown. Yeah, you have to log in, then only you are allowed to use. Without login, how you will use these steps? So let's I am going to add a new user, and its name is student 1, and I am providing it a programmatic access and AWS console access. Programming access means you are able to access the services of the AWS cloud, or you are able to log into the AWS cloud using the access key ID or the secret access key. And AWS management console means you are just going to log in on this console, means on this browser. So that is the browser access. Then auto-generated password or customized password. So it is up to you what kind of password you want to give to this user. So I'm just giving you it as I'm just giving it some kind of password. Okay. And then user must create a new password at next sign in, and just unclicking it so that whenever this user logged in, it doesn't require to change the password. You can even like make it sticker. It is up to you. Then the next thing is that you have to add that user to some group. So I had created a group that is known as administrator, and then I had attached a policy with the administrator account, and that policy is administrator access. So either the new user is added to this group, okay, or you can even create a new group and then add to them. So let's say I do not want to give students a full administrative privilege. What I want to a student uh, to able to store some data over a simple storage system, and another student, and to another student, what I want him a permission to execute its program on EC2. So I am going to create a group that is known as uh, developers. Okay. Then for developers, I am going to give them EC2 privilege. So developer has been created. Next, this is the optional field. You can leave it. The user student has been added to the developer group. So in the developer group, it allows to access the EC2. So no other service of EC2 this student is able to use. So if today I pass some of you the username and password of this student, you allowed to log in to the EC2, allowed to log in to the AWS console or via programmatic access, but you are only allowed to use the EC2 instances. Okay, the console will not allow to use any other service. So the user has been created, and one thing to remember, uh, once the user has been created, this is the time when you have to download their credentials. Okay, if you not download and save at a place, it will be just deleted out. You have to again create the secret access key. Okay, the AWS console provide you the secret access key for each and every user just once. Okay, if you have not downloaded this CSV, you are not able to do so. And if you want to do it again, you have to create the key again for this user, and then you have to delete this key. Okay, clear to everyone. So let's close it. Now the student one has attached with the group developers. Let's add another user. So here you are able to understand what are the policies. So these are the policies that attached with the user. Okay, so there are two things. One is authentication, another is authorization. So two level of security has been used in the cloud environment. The authentication allows you to log into the system, log in into the cloud environment, but it doesn't allow you to use all the service. So it's the responsibility of the system administrator to give you the authorization of different service. When it will give you the authorization of different service, then only you are able to use those services. Clear to everyone? So I'm just creating another user. I'm giving it a programmatic access and AWS console access. Then custom unsigning it. Next permission. Then creating another group. That is going to use just storage services. So I am giving a name like archive, something like, or you can say even storage. Then S3. So you can see that even in S3, you can give the full access or you can even give only the read-only access. So it is up to you. So I'm giving them the full access of S3. And one thing more, what is in these policies? Let's see them. So these policy documents or the JSON documents, okay, they are with very simplicity. So if it becomes any requirement to change the policy documents or to update the policy document, so even it will allow to create your own custom made policies. So here you are able to see that its version, then the statement that it's allow the S3 service, and the resources means the wild character means all the services of the S3. Okay, so in this way you can inspect a JSON document, and after that if it is required to change or update the policy, you can even do that. Yeah, user can do everything. I am just reaching there. Okay, so I hope you are able to understand how to add a user, how to create a new group, and how to add roles to those groups. So now you are able to do that, all of you. And what is the purpose of doing so? So the purpose is, first we are creating a root user. Root have all the privileges. Okay, and for the security reasons, we are creating another account which have the administrative privilege. So it may be possible in a company, there are number of system administrators. Okay, so that is why I had created a group name as administrator, and now you are able to add as number of administrator as you want, as a admin 1, admin 2, admin 3, or whatever name you want to give them. Then there may be a sorry, there may be group of developers, and for those developers, what you want to give them to write the program and check their program. So for that purpose, they want machines, the virtual machine. So if they want virtual machines, means they need the EC2 access. So you have created a developer group and associated all the developers to that particular group. Okay, and then there are policies, and you have attached the policies to these groups. Then there is a role. Okay, so now you are able to see there are just two roles. And what is mean by a role? Okay, so if you want to create a role, that role means, as when you have created a user, you had attached policies to the user. Okay, but when there is an application, let's say application that is EC2, and it wants to access the S3. Okay, it wants to access the services of the S3. Means you have hosted an application in EC2, and after some time, what you want to that particular application want to write a file into the simple storage system. At that time, you have to give the right privilege to that particular application. Then only it will able to write an file in the S3 bucket. So for that purpose, roles become important. Okay, for a service, when a service want to use a service of some other AWS, okay, some other AWS application, at that time the role become important. So let's there is a EC2 service, and you have written a program that is generate files, and you want that those output files should be stored in S3 bucket. Okay, so what you are doing, you are giving that EC2 instance a full access of S3 bucket. So allows EC2 instances to call AWS services on your behalf. Okay, so that role has been created, and it's allow the EC2 instance, whenever it's launched by this particular user, it will allow the EC2 to access the facility of S3. Clear to everyone? I hope it makes clear. Let's try to use an EC2 instance, and then we will try to launch an virtual machine, and then we will go and log into this virtual machine and try to execute a simple program. So for launching purpose, you have to just go and initiate a launch. So here you can see that it have a variety of offering, starting with the Linux machine, Red Hat Enterprises machine, SUSE machine, Ubuntu, then the Windows and Windows Server or all of kind. So any kind of machine for purpose, you can use them. Okay. So machine from which you can choose them. For demonstration purpose, I am just selecting the free tiers only. Those machines that are free. So you can see that Linux machine. So this Linux machine come with 5 years support. It provides Linux kernel 4.14 tuned for optimal performance of EC2 and System 219 and GCC 7.3 GI and other kind of softwares. Okay. Similarly, this seems more reasonable to us because it had already installed the Python, Ruby, Perl, and Java. It have also repositories that include Docker, PHP, MySQL, and PostgreSQL in other packages. So that's why I'm just going to select this. Once you have selected that part, that what kind of software you want on your system. The second thing is to select a hardware. So in the free tier, AWS offer you one CPU, 1 GB of main memory, elastic block storage that is of 8 GB, and network performance is low to moderate, and then IPv6. However, if you want to use large system, let's say you want a system which have 4 GB of memory or 8 GB of memory or 16 GB of memory, you can even do that. Then, if you want to use a very large system, let's say you want a very large system, extra large system, which have 96 cores. This particular system have 96 cores, 384 GB of main memory, 4 cross 900 SSDs, and 20 gigabytes of network speed. So if this kind of system you want, you can even launch that system also. Are you getting my point? So it is up to you. They have variety of system, and you can say a system of every kind, all type. So it is up to you what kind of system you want to launch. That's just a minute. Yeah. So of course I am just selecting the free tier account. Over you can use any of them. It is up. So I am using the general purpose, the free which comes with the free account. So if you run this, you are allowed to run for 750 hours. The next is how many want to launch. So you can even change that 1, 2, 3, 4. You how many instance you want to launch. So I have just going to launch one instance, and there are other options. What group you want to keep it. So network group, you can even create your own network group. That is VPC network, virtual private network. Even if you want to create a new VPC, you can do that. Okay. Purpose is that many of the time when user want an isolated environment, as we have discussed in the lectures, at that time these kind of VPC are needed. So what they do, you can create your own VPC virtual private, and in that virtual private network you can launch your EC2 instance. So that will be isolated environment, and that isolated environment no one will able to interfere. Uh, Other things like shutdown behavior, like what happens when you stop this EC2 instance. So it should be installed, stop, it should not. Thing as a default, don't change them. Okay. Demonstration. Going to add the storage. In this space, you can increase or decrease the size of storage and also the type of volume. So according to your use, you can change it from general purpose solid state drives to input output specific device IOPS, which have if you have a large number of input output, then you can change them to IPO1. Okay, so here you can see that it have 100 to by 3000 IOPS, and it have 400 and above IOPS. You can just fill those numbers. And then there is IoT. It have 4000 above IOPS. Then there is a magnetic standard. That is the traditional one. If you want to use an hard drive, the traditional hard drive, you can even allow to use that. So I'm just selecting it general purpose SSD. It is up to you. Then even you can use the encryption services. The KMS service is provided here. So if you want to encrypt the data of this virtual machine, you can even do that. Then if you want to add some additional drives into your system, you can even do that also. Add new volume from here. So if 8 GB is not enough, and you can increase that also. And if you want to increase the volume to add an extra level of redundancy, you can even do that. So further, if you want to add want to give some name to your this particular EC2, you want to give it some name. So I had given it as, you can put your own. Okay, it is not compulsory to give them DWD. You allow to give it any name as you want. Then security group. So if you want to create a new security group, you are allowed to do so. And if you want to use any previously created security group, that like I had created the launch wizard one, you can even do that. So it is up to you. So for this demonstration, I am just creating a new security group. So here, one thing that since we are going to use an EC2 instance from the console and from the console and from the command line interface. So when you want to connect with the EC2 instance from the command line, at that time you need the SSH protocol, the SSH type of connection, which happens over the TCP protocol on port number 22. Okay, and for the simplicity, I am just making it anywhere, so it will allow you to connect from anywhere. However, it will give you warning. So the recommended setting is to only give programmatic access from the systems which are trusted to you. Don't allow anyone to system. However, it is not allowing you to anybody to connect with system because it is still required username and password. Then only you are able to connect with that programmatically. Next thing is that if you want to create your system as a web server, let's say you want to launch a web server on your system, at that time you need an HTTP. Then only you are able to connect with that, and HTTP work on port number 80. And now this will be anywhere because if a web server is launched on that system, it allows anyone to connect with that, access the. Now everything is okay. Okay, let's launch the system, and on the launch, it will come to this page. We have to create a pair of key, and with these key, you are able to connect with your EC2 instance. Okay, so already I had created with the name of triple IT DW. Triple IT DW2. So and download. So you download this key. Uh, your virtual. Let's go and okay. So this particular machine has I had created earlier, and this initializing and the so it is something like that. Your system is running, and now the operating system and other softwares are installing. That's it is in the initialization step, and it will take some time. Then it will be started. Once plans will start, the next point, the next thing is that let's try to connect. Let's try to connect with them. So find connections because most of two kind of machines, Windows or Linux. So those who are using Linux, they use anything. They have just PEM file. Okay. They have just downloaded this PEM file, and what they have to do in command line, what they have to do in their command, they have to type this command, that is ssh ec2 hyphen user at the rate see this public IP. Public IP, then space hyphen I, then this key name, that is IIITDWD.2.pem in this case. Okay. Once you hit with that, you are able to connect with this instance. Okay. Another who are using Windows. So those who are using Windows, download two softwares, the party. So just download from here. Just go and download from here. Everything. Just download the files and install on your system. Once you get installed, had all
Hello, Manay. Hello.
Looks like we lost him, Abbas.
Okay. He tried calling me 1 minute.
continue. Again. Till that, if you have any doubt, you can ask me. It will take another 4 minutes. guys, have also activated the multi-factor authentication. That's why it is asking for MFA. As I have entered from my system, so I have to go to our mobile phone, and then I have to put an MFA code here. Then only it will allow me to log in. So I hope all of you have downloaded the Putty and PuttyGen from the website. Putty and PuttyGen. What you have to do, you have to when you open PuttyGen, what you have to do, you have to load the key that you have downloaded. So now you are able to see this was the .pem key. So after that,
Not able to see the screens.
sorry,
We are not able to see the screen, sir. I think some of the screen is sharing with us.
okay,
It's showing. Thank you.
I have
I think
Your WebEx screen is showing. Yeah, now it is showing.
Now it's showing. Yes, sir. Yeah.
so now you are able to see that later.
Yes.
Just yeah, okay. So later, the first thing is that you have to load up the public key. Once you have done that, the next thing is that you have to save the private key. Okay. So even it will ask for if you want to even protect this password, so you can even do it doesn't require the extra layer of security. Just save this key. It in and once you have saved that, now you have to open the putty. The EC2 instance that you people have launched. Flow. That's why it's taking time. So if you steps along with me, it will be easier for you. now you are able to see that there are two instances which are running. So just open them. The next thing, what you have to do, you have to either copy so this is all the information of that instance. It have the instance ID, then the running state, then the type of the instance, in which VPC network it is, in which subnet it is, the private IPv4, public IPv4, everything is there. So whenever you have to connect with that system, either you copy this public IPv4 address or simply copy this DNS. So it is up to you. You can do any of them. Just copy this address and after that it is automatically port number 22. SSH, then authentication, and put that key. That's all. It will take some time, and so logging as EC2 hyphen user, just enter here. So now to your EC2 instance, all of you see that you to your virtual machine up, okay, because I have launched a virtual machine which have Python, Perl, Ruby, Java, and other kind of things. So if you want to write those programs, you have to just perform an update. So for update, let's become a super user. Now it's a Linux machine. It doesn't like you are working on Linux or Mac or Windows. Now everything is become similar. Now we are working on a Linux machine. So if you are knowing the Linux commands, it is similar to everyone. Just write sudo. Sudo is used for super user. Sudo su. It's make you the super user. Now you are logged in as a root. And then you have to write yum update space -y. Just hit the enter. You are able to see that the update has been completed. Once the update has been completed, let's try to install an Apache server on this particular system. Okay, let's try to do that. So leave it for the time being, the Apache server. Let's try to write a small program of Python to check whether Python is properly running or not. So now you are able to see that it is properly installed and the version is 2.7.18. So if you want to perform simple addition of few numbers, you can do that. It is giving the output and everything. And if you want to write a program and anything like that, what you have to do, you have to use a VI editor, then program.py, then an editor will be open, and whatsoever program you are able to write it here, and then execute it. You are able to do that. Okay, so I'm not going to write any program or anything. It is up to you if you want to write any program. Okay, so guys, anything you want to ask in that? Anything, anyone have any doubt?
Sir, when we log in with root user and do all these formalities, any harm?
No problem, you can do that. No issue, no harm. Actually, what the kind of security provisions, it is required only when you are administrating a company account, or you are administrating an account which have a lot of users. Okay, if you are just doing for a single individual account as of you, it doesn't much matter. Okay, even because there is no issue with that. Nothing is on stack, nothing will be compromised. But whenever you are going in a company, or going someplace where you have to take the responsibility, so always remember, give minimum possible access or authorization to any person as possible.
So I need to select the user and log in and do this formality same with the same credentials, correct?
Yeah. Okay guys, clear to everyone?
So can you just show how you generated a key in Puttigen and added it to AWS?
Yeah, sure. So I have to going to log out from this particular instance. So I'm closing this session. So what you have to do, the first thing is that when you have launched the AWS instance, at that time a key is generated, if you have remembered. Okay, so you have that key, you have downloaded that key. A key, it is like that, a IIITDWB1.pem, something like that. So if you have downloaded that key, the next thing is that you have to open Puttigen. You have to load that key. So when you load that key, it is always asked for a .ppk key, but you have to load .pem key. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to go in all keys. Just a minute. The all key, you are able to see the IIITDWB1.pem. So to open that, so open that key, it will show you that successfully imported the foreign key, okay, in the old PEM format. To use this key with Putty, you need to use the save private key command to save it in the Putty's own format. Okay, so the next thing, you have to just save the private key. When you save the private key, it will ask you to add some passphrase, but it doesn't require here. So just hit on yes and save it with the same name. So that will be easy for you. Just save it with the same name. Okay, just save here. So once you save here the key, the next work is you have to open the Putty again. That is Puttigen, that is a different software, and this is the Putty. Then come into the Putty. After that, copy this DNS address, paste here, then go into the SSH, then authentication, and load this key, the private key that you have generated using the partition. Open it, and you are able to log into the system. When you have logged into the system, just write hyphen user and hit enter. Sometime it maybe it is possible you are not able to log in due to the network issues. That happens if you are using a mobile phone, because many of the time they frequently change the IP addresses. So at that time, maybe you experience some kind of error. Okay, guys. So that's all from my side for today. Just do the experiments, write commands and code on cloud and execute it. And remember one thing, when you leave this class, don't forget to stop this EC2 install. Okay, don't forget to stop this EC2 instance, the running instances. For that purpose, you have to go into the action. Okay, you have to go into the action, and then you have to stop these instance. So just yeah, the instance state. So don't terminate it, just stop the instance. So don't forget it. If you forget it, once you have consumed the 750 hours, they will charge you, because they have taken your details of detail financial credentials. So just stop it. Don't forget that. I am repeating many times it. So just stop the instance. So whenever it is in use it, and once your use has been completed, just stop it. Just delete your account. If you delete your account, everything will be deleted. That is for sure from Amazon. The Amazon is very reputed, as you people are using your Amazon e-commerce site. Even they have they have uh, and everything. They never compromise those things. So uh, then nothing happen. It only happen when you people do some or other kind of mistake. Like if you forget to stop these running instances, then only they will charge. And even they will not directly deduct money from your card. They will email you multiple times. And if you not respond them, then maybe. So just stop these instances. So in any query, more in learning cloud computing, they can explore all the services of the AWS cloud. Okay, that will be big in the long run, and you may even try to find some certification course on that. So, everyone, that's all from my side.
Sir, one last question, sir. Actually, the objective of this one is the issues with respect to cloud computing vulnerabilities in this one. So, as a learning perspective, we need to understand how this AWS or any other cloud computing works. That's the objective you have done this exercise, correct? Okay, thank you.